Hi, everybody. I'm Reverend Catie Scudera,
I'm Jenna Crawford.
and we're the ministers serving First Parish in Needham Unitarian Universalist. And welcome back to our couch conversations happening here on Zoom from our respective couches in our homes. And we have a couch conversation each month about the monthly theme at First Parish. We incorporate this monthly theme into our couch conversations, our Sunday services, our small group ministries, our religious exploration. And this month for January, the theme is intention.
So Reverend Katie and I were just talking a little bit earlier about how inspired we were by one of our youth alums' reflections this Sunday. So Gwen, who's a current senior at Tufts University in Boston, gave one of the two reflections this Sunday. And she spoke a little bit about authenticity and about how she's been sort of in this period of discernment, deciding what she wants to do after college. And she's been getting a lot of opinions from the various people in her life who care a lot about her. And she's sort of had to decide what feels right and what feels true to her amidst all the noise. And it sort of brought me to reflect on my own experience around the same time when I was in college, when I was a junior or senior. At the time I was studying biochemistry and molecular biology, which I loved the theory of it a lot. And yet I also realized that in the same way, a lot of the lab work, the kind of organic chemistry labs, some of the research that me and my colleagues were doing was really activating to a lot of the folks that I worked with who went on to either pursue medical school or do research. It wasn't really activating in the same way to me. The theories were really exciting to me, but the day-to-day lab work, which is a lot of what you do as a biochemist, was not activating in the same way. Whereas some of the other things that I was doing at the same time in college were the small group ministry that I was in with a bunch of Unitarian Universalist students. We met on the third floor of the chapel at my college with the local UU minister. That was activating in the same way that my colleagues got a lot of energy from doing the lab work. But it was a decision that was hard, I think, in a lot of the ways that Gwen was articulating, because Hamilton is not a school that sends a lot of people to seminary after college, maybe about 1 or 2 a year, if that. Our chapel was really small. I continued to be and still am like the only UU in my two sort of really large extended families. And I had no one in my life besides kind of my two ministers who I knew sort of pursued seminary or divinity school. And no one in my family was a religious professional. Whereas a lot of other paths were more obviously charted. So in the same way that Gwen articulated, it sort of took a little bit of discernment and a little bit of figuring out how to listen to and continue to like nurture that voice that was telling me that, even though it felt kind of scary at the time. And listening to Gwen's reflection, I was thinking a lot about how she was following in the steps of our great kind of transcendentalist ancestors, Henry David Thoreau, and his famous quote, "If a man does not keep pace with his companions, perhaps it is because he hears a different drummer. Let him step to the music which he hears, however measured or far away." One of our great transcendentalist ancestors. And how our liberal religious heritage, while now it sort of kind of appears as a individualism and an individualist impulse, really started as an impulse toward nonconformity and bringing in your own reason into thinking about some of these big theological principles. So I was just really happy to hear from Gwen and see that she was sort of following in that tradition, which is really a part of our Unitarian Universalist heritage.
Yeah, absolutely. That's that thought about nonconformity and about Thoreau, that I'm reminded how, especially in January, when we honor the birthday of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., that thorough and civil disobedience were inspirations for Dr. King, in the sense that his justice work and the justice work of the organizations with which he was affiliated was really about nonconformity with the dominant social order. And that made Dr. King extremely unpopular in some segments of American society, because he was encouraging the dismantling and the reform of so much that was normal then. But Dr. King saw that marching to the beat of a different drummer as a call to listen to his own heart and the heart of his community that needed a different society to be co-created together. And that that balance between the listening to your own drummer, but maybe also listening for, like, is anybody else at this beat? And why is the beat of of society, the dominant society, not working for me? That tension between authentic self and being in a authentic and beloved community, that's how we chart our path forward. I'm thinking about at First Parish that I'm reminded of the work of our national organization, the Black Lives of Unitarian Universalism, that a few years ago asked for congregations engaged in the work of dismantling white supremacy to research the history of Black membership in their congregations and also Black residents in the geographic area where where congregations were located. And in Massachusetts, a lot of that is very town-based. So I started on a path trying to research, were there Black residents in Needham? And if so, when did they start coming here? I was thinking about redlining and things of that nature. And what I uncovered, with a lot of help from research librarians over at Harvard Divinity School and our own town historian here in Needham, was that there were Black residents of the town who were enslaved in the 1700s, and then impoverished when they were released from slavery, so to speak, with the Massachusetts Constitution in 1783. And this was very shocking to learn. It should not have been, but it was for me. Especially that the founding minister at First Parish had himself been an enslaver. This was not known in the town. There were deliberate attempts by prior historians of the town, who were members of First Parish, to bury this history. By the 20th century, it was unseemly. It was considered unseemly that there had been enslavers living in the town and being members of First Parish. So I knew that would not be popular, and that to reveal that information. But I was also very confident that the First Parish community and that other progressive organizers in Needham would want to know the truth. That we can't really have justice if we don't know the truth. And with that in mind, and our values, our Unitarian Universalist values in my heart, that it's important to pursue the truth. I worked with these other professionals, these historians, to sort of unravel that history and bring it to light. And I really am proud of how First Parish has wrestled with that history and the plans that we have for making attempts at reconciliation and reparation, and making sure that this history is not buried again. And I appreciate actually my seminary education that instilled in me a very deep sense of what it means to be an anti-racist person, an anti-oppressive person, that I hope will continue carrying me in my ministry through the many tumultuous times that may be coming and maybe have already arrived. No.
I love that. It's actually a great day to talk about that history, because later today will be the first meeting of a small organizing group at First Parish to to talk about how to get First Parish to adopt the eighth principle of our UUA. So that the intentional dismantling of oppression in ourselves and in our institutions, which is a sort of proposed new principle that congregations on their own can adopt before a greater national vote that goes to our whole denomination. So it's a good day to be reminded of that history. You mentioned tumultuous times. Yeah, this conversation is just making me think about how the ability to practice, like Len was talking about, like those two stories that we shared, sort of these smaller, and maybe actually all three of those are not even the smallest example or the smallest scale of this happening, but practicing in our everyday lives, like listening to that intuition over and above the shoulds that are coming at us from all angles. And that could be a really small decision, like choosing what we want to eat versus, oh, I should eat that at this moment, or I shouldn't eat that at this moment. And how practicing those on a smaller scale can prepare us for these really big moments. So Reverend Catie and I are filming this conversation on Wednesday morning on the 13th. And the House is about to vote on the articles of impeachment, right? So that's sort of another big moment of our legislators going to listen to, like, what authority are they listening to? The authority of the sort of shared insider information from their party? Are they listening to their own understanding of what is true and what is just? Are they listening to their constituents and the people that they're called to represent? And practicing that impulse to intention, intuition, authenticity, whatever you want to call it, the beat of your own drum on a daily basis can prepare you for those bigger moments where you have to stand up for something that could be really hard because it could be seen as unpopular at first. And it's so great, Reverend Catie, in your story that you knew you had the backing of the First Parish community, and finding those communities that will listen to their authenticity along with you makes it a lot easier.
I guess that's why that organizers always tell us that even if sometimes we might think we should only call our elected officials if we disagree with something they're doing or they haven't signed on to something we want them to yet, but that it is also very important. You just send a piece of mail or leave a phone message for our elected officials when we do agree with what they're planning to do, to say, like, yes, like, thank you so much for taking my values and representing them at the higher level of government. So that so that our elected officials know what the community wants and they can have our backing when they're following their duty to the Constitution and to their constituency. Yeah, this was a very wide-ranging conversation about intention and authenticity and intuition. And if any of you who are watching out there have your own thoughts about intention, authenticity, intuition, we would invite you to comment wherever you're watching this, whether it's on Facebook or YouTube. And we would ask that you are invited to email Jenna and I you can find our email addresses at uuneedham.org. And I hope that we'll hear from you soon and that you'll plug into our other offerings at First Parish, like the Sunday services and all ages lifespan religious exploration. So we hope that this month goes better than how it started, and that we hear from you soon. Bye-bye now.